Big volleyball tournament, so. Friday.
You hear anything from Gretchen?
30.
She will not be attending.
Okay.
60, 70.
Wow.
Yep, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty ready to rock. I can tell you.
All right.
People now and stuff. It's not really-
We'll call the August 14th transit meeting order at 8:01. Roll call. We have everyone present except for Gretchen and Richard. Good form, so good to go. Approval of minutes for the July 10th.
Move it for you.
Second. Motion been made second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Public comment. Nothing. Austin.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
8/14/24 ridership financials grants around the shop on the route. Bus history and options for the future and any questions. Doorstop and Red Cedar ridership saw a nice uptick in July, up 14%, but we had a couple more service days, so our ridership per day was the same as June. Community ridership saw a nice uptick both in the monthly riders, up 23% versus June. And looking at the service days, still up 14% per day versus June, and almost, this is the first summer of having a non-fare free system at $1 a ride compared to being fare free from 23. Looking back all the way to 2021. So for us to almost be at the best year ever and bringing in that fare system was great to see. 2024 financials through July, banked another couple thousand out of the savings, bring us 20,000 to the good. I'll talk about it here in a little bit, but spent a little bit of money in early August that will hit. Grant's the only one that is coming out this fall that doesn't get submitted in the December is a 2025 City of Menominee. I submitted it both on paper and email, so that is all done. So it's set up for the October subsidy meeting and approvals. Around the shop, this hasn't been touched since the building was built in 2014 or so. Starting to get a few cracks and some moisture getting down. So went out for 3 bids and got this done for $3,500 for 21,000 square feet of parking lot, and got the lines all done, painted after this picture, but all sealed up, crack filled, seal coated, and looks great. On the route, got together with Krista, and she did a extremely good job putting this together. We wanted to get better verbiage in every bus stop. Stout SSA put together some really good stuff a few years ago, and we needed to update it. We were waiting on any changes that we were going to make in the community route since it was pretty new, and then we were able to. Krista had the same editing program as Stout did when they originally put this together, and just put some Dunn County touches on it. And this will be, the goal was to put it on the yard sign material or something semi-permanent but UV protected, going vertical like this, and then putting it in every glass case. That way it's, not 300 pieces of vinyl on lettering that you need to pull off these glass bus stops, but open the glass case, and then we'll have a stout version, stout route, and doorstop version that would showcase a lot of this too, but very awesome that this should be in all the bus shelters before Labor Day. So this was a big talking point last month of where we're at with our fleet and where we want to be with our fleet. So going from oldest to newest, our two 2011 E450s are technically the ones fully eligible for disposal. Their useful life was 5 years and 150,000 miles. They're 2011s, and they have 191,000, 171,000 on them. We haven't used them more than a few hundred to a couple thousand miles in 2024. They're there if we need them, but we could have sold them a little while ago, but we were just waiting on getting these other electric buses. That they'd be a bus for bus replacement on that. The next two down that are highlighted are our 2014 F550s that are bus 314 and 315. Those are our two diesel buses that were used 95% for the stout route. Those I have not heard back from WisDOT. Obviously, they're older than 7 years, but they have not, especially with March through May of 2020, and as well as the next fall, they really don't get much mileage put on them. As we talk about going down here. So in 2023, 99,000 miles were put on the gas buses. You divide that by the 4 that we're using daily. That puts it at around 25,000 miles per bus annually. 316, the goal was to put more than 25,000 on that. That one kind of beat the double duty bus doing the day route and the night route because it's still, and that's in 2017 and it's got 150,000 already. So almost to get it to that out of service, 200,000 miles before it rusts out. It has issues with that. That was kind of the mindset behind that. But on average, these buses going through 25,000 miles a year puts 316 out of service in 2 years, or eligible for out of service in 2 years. 201, that bus is the non-CDL bus we picked up. That bus, 3.5 years, 416 and 317, which are twins out at the same time, puts them out of service in 4 years. The way that these are kind of staggered, one bus a year of that size kind of takes us well into keeping, a new one on the road every 5th year. We have a little bit of time here, but like we talked about last meeting, putting a plan in place. 2023 diesel bus mileage was 12,000. 3 of those buses, 2 out of the 3 in fair service, 4,000 miles a year. Well, the one that we have is still almost brand new, that 2020, 27,000 miles. These were having more issues with rust and electrical issues than really anything else. And emissions issues with some of those first few years of the DEF fluid in these buses. But the issue really isn't even that. The issue is capacity on these buses. And before we get into the next slide, the last thing that I wanted to bring up was kind of the current, my estimation of value that these would bring on auction. If these are eligible for our own disposal, these 2 diesel buses would bring in probably 15,000 for the one with half the mileage, 10,000 for the other one. With these being lower miles, WisDOT might want to repurpose them for a different agency and pay fair market value, which would probably be around the same. These two eligible for disposal, I think will bring around 7,000 each, maybe a little bit more. That are 100% eligible for disposal. I bring those up because of this next slide. All of these style shuttle buses are weight rated for seating capacity, 26 passenger on the larger stout buses. And when these previous people at Dunn County Transit bought these buses, it was an oversight on their part, and they rated them for 45. But we've broken leaf springs. We've broken these rubber bushings that hold on the leaf springs. And this summer, I dug into it a little more and looked at the door panel, and I apologize I didn't see it sooner, but they're rated for the amount of seats that are in the buses. Transit buses are the only style of buses that are rated heavier duty than what the seating is in the bus. That's why same 40-foot bus, it's a transit bus, weighs 48,000 pounds, and these ones weigh 19,500. We shouldn't be putting more than 26 people on these buses. And 18 passenger on the smaller stout buses, not larger. Previously, they've been rated at 30. So
So do you ever like stop the route and say, well, we got enough passengers on, we can't put no more on, or you just?
yes,
What do you do?
and that was when these are at 45.
Oh, okay.
How's they fit 45 people on there if it's only rated for 20? If there's only 20.
Standing because there are grab bars and stuff, but they're just not built for what they're used for. There's one door to get in and out. These were ordered with luggage racks, and they're not ideal. So this has been on the wish list for a little while, but auctioning off our two eligible 2011 E450s brings in around 14 to 18,000. We haven't put more than a few hundred miles on these this last year. Their estimated income brings in what we need to purchase. On the right side here, this 2011 or 2010 Van Hool transit bus. It's a 40-foot transit bus that's 34 passengers sitting, plus at least 1 to 2 wheelchair positions, plus standees. Most of those 40-foot transit buses are 65 to 70 passenger capacity. 3 entry doors, and at 11,775 plus $1,000 in fuel, and 2 days of 2 drivers getting back here, it's probably a positive net swap just on the buses that we have here that we don't even use. In comparison, there's not very many used transit bus sale companies. I've looked on Google, looked on Facebook, looked on govdeals.com. Not many, and especially not many from a reputable dealership. Just in comparison for buses, here's 3 at the bottom. The Gilligs are a little bit easier to find parts for, but they're older. I think they're less of a deal. And that Van Hool is still able to be serviced at ABC Bus in Faribault, Minnesota, 2 hours away. I called them up before this meeting and made sure that they are able to get parts for them. This bus wasn't made for that many years, but these buses run for 500,000-600,000 miles. It's got, I believe, around 400,000 miles on it. And at $11,000, if it fits our needs for 2, 3 years, I think it's a win, especially for 2 buses that we have in the fleet that we don't even use. Um, uh, for that price too, I think it's sellable for what it's even getting paid for right now.
Where are these buses coming from? East. What part of the country?
Washington State.
Yeah, Washington.
Yep. A few drivers willing to do it, otherwise it'd be myself and another one, bringing it back.
The reason I was wondering was what? Were they in the salt and stuff like that, or?
No, he said you'd be very pleased at how the buses are out here. We don't get the salt like a lot of the other part of the US does.
Yeah.
Right in my initial conversation. As well as in this PowerPoint, there's this is a YouTube video of a whole walk around inside and outside of the bus. That I can send anybody that wants to look at it more. It's a 20-minute video, but it's clean underneath. A lot of these transit buses new right now are 500,000 basic up to $700,000. Local share of that is 20%. Is $100,000 that we need to come up with to 130,000 of local share to get one of these that are new. We could get 10 of these for the price of one local share of new. And hopefully someday we could build up to that. But I think this is a good stepping point towards that. But what makes transit buses so expensive is on so many of these, and I believe this one is as well, is the bottom third of it is stainless steel, or as well as most of these have a stainless steel underbody unibody system. The only thing that's non-stainless is normally the axles on these things, so they just last a lot better, even if they're in pretty salty conditions.
So are there steps that lead up into it, or is it more of a flat floor like?
It's very low. These are very low floor buses.
Yeah, one of them said a low floor, yeah, these two. We don't watch them.
Yeah. I can just skip to a couple parts that show the inside of it, but the weird slash cool thing about this bus is it's an offset midship motor that there's no, on a lot of those other buses, the back end is pretty high, but this, it's a midship motor. It's all accessible right from a panel on the left. The left side of the bus. See, everything's low floor.
So offset punking on the axle.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, it seems like a good fit. It has a voice transmission that's a little less common than The Allison that's in a lot of these, but the Cummins inline 8.9 is everywhere, and a lot of local dealerships can work on that. I don't even have to take it to the Van Hool dealership to get that fixed if it needs it. So
Austin, would be your intention to run this on the Stout Road? And then, so in the morning, would you still be running a chase truck or a chase bus,
Mhm.
sorry? Which the routes line up for that right now.
Yep.
Done that.
mhm.
But you take care of between those two, then you could meet capacity in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where right now you have been full and then apparently more than full
Mhm.
according to specs.
Yep. At max, between the two, it's close to 60 to 70. In the cold days, the cold mornings, stuff like that. This bus would be able to take care of it by itself mostly, which a lot of times that first bus is the bus that gets down the library quicker than the second bus. And some hours of the day are less crucial than others. But getting there before 8 a.m. for the 8 a.m. start class, 9 drops back another 10 minutes each hour for start time of the classes. But especially in the mornings, I think a bigger first bus would really help in that too.
And it looked maybe a little shorter than probably before your time. We had those mint green transit buses, which were probably just on the edge of they could get around, but it was tight some days, especially if it gets snowy. And
This should be the same size.
it is okay.
Yes, they make, I believe, 3 different sizes. The transit bus is 30, 35, and 40. This is a 40, but it might be a little bit smaller just because the engine's not in the back,
Yeah.
or at least the tail would be a little shorter. So yeah, right turn on the Broadways. There and then a right turn at Burger King
Yeah.
is where it gets tight, but snub noses versus conventional noses can turn.
Yeah.
Anywhere. So,
Did you go back to your grid?
yeah,
So you're proposing the first two on that grid?
oops. Yes,
The
correct.
first two.
The first two that are 100% eligible for disposal, not getting rid of our 2 older stout buses at this point.
They still have a lot of use to them, I guess.
Correct.
And then those first 4 buses, did we get those without local share that time?
That's just I don't
Oh,
think
you don't-
that's the case. I just didn't have data, so I didn't want to plug it in without knowing.
So going top to bottom, what's the bus numbers on it? Because I was getting lost. It's
Yeah.
So the top one is what? What number is bus number?
That
You
should,
call that
312,
12. Okay.
311, 315, 314.
Good.
Had a lot less issues with 314 with 129,000 and 315.
No kidding.
It must have been built on a Friday.
And then what's the one you got from where'd you get it? Kentucky or?
Yep, that's down at the bottom.
Okay, that's that one.
We paid that one outright at 22,995. Put into service in August of 22. Had about 50,000 miles. It's got 106 on it now.
And then one up from that, did we get that brand new?
Yep.
Oh,
And that one came in right before I came here and COVID hit, and that thing had about 5,000-6,000 miles on it that time.
and that, is that basically the same as the other 2 Super Duties up?
Yes.
Okay.
And then up on the right side here, this is what kind of the capacity is. Flip up seats. Or full capacity on the left.
Well, just sort of the sake of discussion, I mean, to me, you don't use them hardly at all. They would generate, the only thing that you'd be shorting yourself is having spares around, right? Backups.
Which, since we purchased that other smaller bus, one of our other 3 newer gas buses is the spare.
Okay,
because there's only, you know, let's just say this one's on the community route, this one's on doorstop, well, that non-CDL driver's on this one. So then there's always one of the newer E450 18 passengers on a backup, or, you know, I swapped the tires out the other day when it wasn't on the route. And then there's always a backup.
And if the big bus would go down, which
Yep.
it probably will at some point, you still got coverage with the Super Duties.
Yep.
Okay.
As well as those F550 stealth buses are still nimble enough to do the community route, and they have.
Oh, okay.
They, you know, they're not great for the doorstop or Red Cedar door-to-door service, but that's the nice part. They still could be used for anything. But
So you just wanna. You're just looking at the top two.
Yep.
Right now.
Yep.
The other ones down the road, maybe.
Yep.
See what's going on
and just for the top two money that they bring in with what it'd take to
get this other bus here.
the other bus,
Almost a wash.
a wash, if not to the positive of a few $100. We get it DOT'd and that sort of thing, but just yeah, I think it's a great step back into the transit bus style.
I think it's worth taking a shot at it, you know, and seeing if that's the best way to go or not. You know, you'll know with stuff coming in and, you know, putting it in service, and, you know, by Christmas time, first of the year, you're gonna have a good feel if that's the way we need to be looking. Because as I look at your other list, in my mind personally, it's like, you know, it's what I've been talking about the last year and a half with electric buses replacing. Should we be waiting? You know, or looking at doing something like this in the meantime to, you know, keep the fleet moving in the right direction and provide the service and be able to provide them services. And so with that, I'm gonna make a motion that we put up the two suggested buses for auction. Or no,
Do I, and with that, if we can make the motion to purchase this
that's where I'm
at
at.
the same time or before the other buses go to auction.
I'm headed there.
Okay, sorry.
To replace those two buses with the Van Hool option that's been proposed, the 2010 Van Hool.
And the order of that happening is not been in motion or something.
Correct. The order does not have to be sell our two first before we can purchase this, but purchase what's available right now and
We have that money budgeted.
Yeah.
That money uncovered. Yeah, sounds good. All right. Second. Got that on?
Do they have these buses on hand at all time, or do all like new ones come
It's
in?
all one off, so. They did have two identical ones, but did not. They only have one left. It would have been.
Okay, motion been made, seconded to sell the two transit buses and purchase Van Hool. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
off the one on the left would have fit our colors.
That's green.
That's what I mean.
Oh, I was kind of going for the blue Stout look. Stout Express, big X, that's what those 1994 Novas, they were called the Stout Express. But yeah, those ones were green, one too.
That was number 7. Number 8, there's nothing. Any other questions, comments?
Just on the early parts of your report, did we reshape the community route in 22?
21.
21,
June
okay.
1st of 21.
Okay, I just, your chart, and we've noticed as it's gone along, but your chart shows it really well, is. I think regardless of fares, on or off, free or not, a good design route, a well-designed route is what drives traffic, and so your chart is really showing that, so I think that's pretty impressive. And I just wanna say that the green on the new graphic design really pops, and so I think that looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, she did a very good job.
Anything else?
Everybody,
If not, going, we'll be adjourned. Next meeting, September 11th, same time, same place.